So Anthropic just released Claude Opus 4.7 and it's been about 2 days, 48 hours. It was released on Thursday, April 16th. Today is actually Saturday, April 18th. I've been using it for the past 48 hours and all of the coverage that I've seen on it thus far has been a lot about the model itself and the comparisons between 4.6 to 4.7 and the, metrics upgrades that 4.7 now has. However, I have not seen really anyone touch on the business implications of 4.7. Yes, the model metrics are important to anyone using 4.7 or AI as a whole. However, for the past 48 hours, I have been stress testing Opus 4.7 right here. You can't see, but I have 5 screens in front of me. I've been stress testing this model on the countless of agents that we have running for our business, for our clients' businesses. And these agents are running at real scale. There is a high volume of data flowing through these agents, in turn, flowing through the model that the agents are working on, which in the past 48 hours has been exclusively Opus 4.7. Since it has come out and since we actually have been using it in real business, I have noticed 3 major things that I want to cover with you guys today so you can apply them to your business and you can ultimately, learn, exchange value, et cetera, and get on with your day. In case you don't know me, my name is Elijah Bricker. I run AI Drivers with my co-founder, Cabrin. We deploy production-ready agents and agentic teams and infrastructure into countless businesses across the world. So I think it is safe for me to say that I have some sort of ethos when it comes to talking about AI and specifically this AI model. I have been a top 1% user for the entirety of 4.7 being out. Now, the model-specific data is still important, so in case you haven't seen anything, let's recap these new features of 4.7. Now, comparative to Opus 4.6, tool errors have been cut about 1/3, which is pretty significant, so they say. And they also say that 14% improvement on complex multi-step workflows. I guess the real highlight of this is that it can do the same workflow and maybe a slightly more effective output. However, it's using far less tokens for that exact same job. So for all of you people who aren't using Claude Max plans, which I hope are very few of the people watching me, I hope every single person watching this YouTube video has a Claude Max plan, if not multiple. Because if you don't, and if you have usage or any other thing as a blocker, it's not necessary and it is stopping and halting your workflow. So first thing you should do, turn off this video. Don't even watch the rest of this video. Go get a $200 Claude Max plan, please, now. Another thing that was added was self-verification. So they say that this is now built into the model itself and it does, sanity checks every, I don't know how many lines, every couple of lines that you're actually using the model, which is great in theory. Let's just say you need to get it up to speed. If you're someone that's using Claude on a day-to-day basis, you do need to influx a lot of context onto 4.7, but I found that as soon as you kind of re-jog its memory from your previous work that 4.6 was carrying, it really does not take long for it to be way more capable than 4.6 was. But there is a very short but noticeable starting point that 4.7 seemed to have, at least on our team's workflow. The main bottleneck people have described Opus 4.6 of having is that when you test it on a specific task, yes, it can complete and do the task objectively. However, on a larger scale of volume of that exact same task and the variation of tasks in a real business, live data is always going to be different. It's always going to, trend this way or trend that way. The problem is when you give Opus 4.6 the same problem 10 times, it doesn't seem to have the same output, which is not reliable. So Opus 4.6 didn't necessarily have a capability issue, it had a reliability issue. And from what we've seen, a lot of people try to squeeze this gap of reliability aspect of these Claude models or of any other AI company's model. And it seems like with a single update push, Anthropic can wipe out thousands, hundreds of startups that are just trying to arbitrage information. Now, Opus 4.7 is said to have moved this ceiling. which from my experience over the past 48 hours, I'm gonna give you my honest take on specifically, is Opus 4.7 more reliable? And to be completely honest with you, I haven't had enough time yet. Like I said, you have to re-jog its memory. So after, spending a little bit of time doing that, I have noticed that it takes longer and it's thinking way harder per task. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's providing a better output. I haven't seen any issues on the outputs. It seems to be subjectively, maybe it's placebo, better than 4.6 or just as good. I definitely have not seen it being any worse, except, like I've already mentioned, that initial kind of memory rejog phase where you just have to get it back up to speed. In the past 48 hours, I have not seen any significant improvement. However, I have seen a lot of other features come out with Claude. So you got Claude Design, you have improvements to Claude Code in the actual desktop app. Again, if you are building with these tools, specifically with Claude, you should be extremely happy with this update. It definitely is a huge step in the right direction for everyone building businesses around AI. And whether you're, selling AI, whether you're implementing AI just into your business or implementing it into other businesses, whatever you're doing, this update as a whole is extremely, extremely beneficial and useful for your stack today. Now, this next update that I've noticed is actually my personal favorite, I should say, the file system memory. So there is a connector with Claude where you can connect it to your local files on your machine, whether you're running that on a Mac, Windows, whatever, you have local files on your machine, you can connect Claude to them. This, although it works, the memory aspect of it, I've seen from my actual workload has been subpar. It works when you're doing a task and it works perfectly fine, and it can fetch all of the files and write to the files and move files and create directories and all this stuff very well. And I'm referring to Opus 4.6 right now. It could do all that stuff very well. However, over time, and especially across sessions, it wouldn't remember context that it found from those files. It would have to revisit those files to kind of, again, re-jog its memory. Opus 4.7, from what other people are saying and from what I've seen, again, from what my team's seen in this past 48 hours, has a way better job of truly having a 360 view of everything in your system's files. Now, my company personally, we run all of our stuff off of our own internal AI vault, which I've talked about before. I'm not going to go into it right now. Essentially, it's cracked, but obviously it's going to perform way better than typical local file of system files of the random Claude user. However, even with an unoptimized structure, it still is performing significantly better. For anyone who wants to make sure that their Claude is, Opus 4.7 is most optimized with the information on their computers, because everything I have is a work computer. So I assume if you're watching this video, all you have is work files. Give it access to your parent folder with all of the stuff underneath so it can reference all of your information, SOPs, whatever it is, all of the work you've been doing leading up to it. And if you've already been doing it, run an audit on its memory and essentially have it brain dump everything it knows about your company, about your clients, about your business, about things that you've done, your processes, your tool stack, etc., and just see how accurate it is, see how robust it is, how detailed it is. Chances are it wasn't the best if it was on 4.6. Yes, it'll have a, decent general summary, but it won't be very specific in its data. And honestly, some of the data might be stale, some of it might be outdated. But with 4.7, take that audit you did with 4.6 and implement that and have 4.7 run a fresh audit on your actual files, not on its memory, on your actual files. Pair that up with the audit of 4.6 memory and use both of those audits, both of those outputs, and completely revamp your internal folder structure. I promise you're gonna see a significant upgrade. Every work that you do forward is now going to be 10 times better because Claude has increased its memory or ready knowledge of your entire business and clients, etc., by 10 times. If that did sound confusing, I honestly don't know what to tell you. I will maybe make another video where I boil it down deeper, but really I'm just speaking to people who are actually working with Claude right now, not people who are learning it. Another very interesting thing I've seen with Opus 4.7 is it follows instructions way more literally. So if you're using terms like consider or you might or, bulleted or summarized sort of instructions or prompts that you're giving Opus, it's going to follow what you say way more literally. So I would say that's really just a cue to be more descriptive with what you're asking Claude. You should already be extremely descriptive with any instruction you give Claude because, again, guys, Claude is an employee for you. So, just like you're talking to a brand new employee, you're gonna be very descriptive on exactly what you want. You need to make sure you're doing that with Claude. The caveat is, yes, you wanna be descriptive, but also you can give Claude room to lead you through. I don't want to say lead because you should always be leading Claude, but you can give Claude chat room to, point you in a certain direction. If you intentionally leave your prompts more vague, it will take that empty space and fill it in, and then you can kind of direct it on where you want it to go while also receiving ideas back from Claude. If that did sound confusing, I encourage you to continue using Claude and continue consuming information on AI as a whole. So I don't want to take too much time out of your day or mine. I just wanted to give my insights to you on the new Opus 4.7 from my first 48 hours with it. I definitely think this is just even more of an indicator that everyone should be either integrating with, adopting, or completely restructuring their business to be optimized for AI. If you're not, really primarily in some sort of use with AI on a day-to-day basis with your business, you are honestly behind. And if you have a large team, but you don't have a large team of AI agents, you are even more behind because you have the volume in your business to be able to implement an AI team and benefit from an AI team. Otherwise, I don't know how you would have such a large team. If that is you, you need to stop everything you're doing and fully analyze everything in your business. Figure out what is a more optimal way to go about this process? What's a more efficient way to go about this process? What's a cheaper way to go about this process? I guarantee you are bloated on some aspect, especially if you have a large team. Even if you're a solopreneur, you still probably have a very bloated process, especially if you are only using LLMs. I hope all of you watching this are not using LLMs for anything more than just kind of structuring ideas, but all of you lock in, adopt AI, use Opus 4.7. I want to know what you guys have seen from Opus 4.7. So definitely comment what you guys have seen from using it. You guys think it's better? Do you guys think it's worse? Claude seems to be going crazy, so I'm curious to what you guys think about things like Claude Design or anything else related to Anthropic, I should say, instead of Claude. Let me know because they're really just waiting for people to give them proof of concept, and then they just completely wipe out companies with every single update, and they're pushing out updates every single week. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think about that, but I appreciate you for listening to my TED Talk, and I will see you guys in the next one.